VS series, execute conditions. Load in and connect to the execute conditions simulator. This example will be used to show how the tool execution conditions work, where you can execute tools based on the judgment result of another tool or a cell, things like that. In this program, we have three different parts. So we have part A, as you can see here. Um, First image is okay, no good. So we got an okay image and a no good image of part A, and then an okay image and no good image of part B, and then a part C, okay and no good. And then we have an image that has no part at all. So we're going to show you how we can properly set up the execute conditions of each tool so they execute properly. So we have a pattern tool ahead of time, shape tracks tool, set up to locate the appropriate part, and they have a judgment condition to fail if it does not locate it. So you can see in this example, it located part A, and then part B, and then part C. So that will tell us which part is present. And then we have a group of tools for each part. So it's just doing a simple blob inspection to locate the holes and then some distance measurements. So this is part C. So you can see dimensions, doing some dimensional measurements. And then we have some tools for part B, and then they're grouped together. All right, so you can see right now it's not set up correctly because, of course, if part A is present, it's still trying to execute part B and C tools. So that's why we're going to use the execute conditions and show you how those are set up. One other item that's been set up ahead of time is on the Vision dashboard. We've loaded ahead of time the judgment for those three shape tracks tools into the table here, as you can see. So you can see wherever one is present, the appropriate judgment passes. So we're going to put this to use, or actually it is being used already. If you look down here, we've basically OR logic those together. So as long as one of them is present, this is true. But if they're all not present, it's false. So we're going to use that as part of the, or it's being used as part of the judgment. So if I go to the settings, total status settings, let me show you how this is set up. So we've took out tool 1, 2, and 3 out of the total status equation. So because we know two of those are going to fail each time because there's only going to be at least at minimum or at most one part present of the type. So we know the others are going to fail no matter what. So we've taken that out of the total status judgment, but we've also linked it in with the cell on the dashboard C7, which is that true. So we're using that cell as well as the other tools in the task to calculate the total status. Now, these tools are failing because this is the wrong part present. So that's where we're going to go. We're going to fix this and use the execute conditions, show you how that works, and show you how to properly execute, or we'll fix this program. Okay, so I'm going to collapse these groups out of the way for the moment and open up part A inspection. So first thing I want to show you in the execute conditions. So I'm going to select tool number 4 here, start there, and then we'll work our way through all the other tools too. But on the general tab of the tool, any of the inspection tools, that's where you'll find the execute condition. And as a default, it's set for specify by on and off. In other words, you can toggle the tool on and off with the switch. And of course, it's on as a default. So one thing you can do is just manually turn this off if you want. So if you're troubleshooting your program, maybe you're setting it up and you want to disable a tool for the moment manually, just not execute it and do some more testing. So you want to turn off a tool without not deleting it. So basically what it'll do is it'll just turn that tool off unless you turn it back on. So you can manually toggle that on and off as needed. This can also be linked directly to a tool judgment and a cell. We'll get back to that later in this example. So another way you can dynamically execute the tool on and off is by using follow judgment result of another tool. In other words, link it to another tool. This is probably the most common way to do this, but and we'll show you some other ways too. But follow judgment result of another tool, and then you simply select the tool you want to link it to. So in this case, we're going to link it to tool number 1, which is part A, because this is a part A inspection. So we want to only execute this tool if part A passes. You can also link it to the fail condition of a tool if you want, but in our case, we want to follow the judgment result of tool 1, part A, if it passes. So only if that tool passes, do we want to execute this tool? So if I show you this example here, so if we click on image 1, you can see it's executing, but if I go into image 2, that's failing, so it is not executing. So we've linked it directly to that tool. So now if I want to do it for these others, I can repeat that for the others. But an easy way to do that is just simply copy this setting and then partially paste it into the other tools. So I'm going to select the other tools here, and I'm going to just partially paste the execute condition into the other tools so they'll have the same execute condition. So this is under the general settings, execute condition. If I paste that in, now all these tools will be linked to part A. So here's part A passing. Go to image number 1. You'll see that it will update, and you can see it passes, and these tools execute, and this is the good part, so the parts are passing. If I go to image number 2, again, part A is still there, present, and now it's inspecting, but you can see these failed because of the distance reading failed. All right, so then we can repeat that for the other tools. So now let's repeat then the same thing for part B inspection. So again, I'm going to do the same thing we just did, but this time we're going to link it to tool number 2. So again, if I go to the General tab, we can follow the judgment result of another tool, and we can link it, this time we're going to link it to part B. So only if tool number 2 passes do we want these tools to execute. So I've changed it for this tool, so again, we'll do the same procedure here. We'll copy it, and then I'll partially paste it into the other tools so they have the same execute condition. And then they will properly run only when part B is present. All right, so again, this is going to be under the general settings and then the execute condition. So we'll paste just that in there. And then now part B, when part B is present, these tools will properly execute. And then when they're not, when part B is not present, they will not execute. So here's part B okay, and then part B no good. So part B is present, these tools still execute, but they're failing because the part's a bad part. But they will not execute if another part is present. And now we'll go ahead and repeat that for part C inspection. So again, I'll select this tool number 14, and we'll do the same thing on the General tab. We're going to link this to follow the result of tool number 3 this time. So follow the judgment of another tool. This time it's going to be part C, and then we'll again pass. So only if tool number 3 passes do I want this tool to execute. And then we'll copy this and partially paste it into the other 4 tools here. There we go. And then the tool execute, again, is under the general settings and the execute condition. And now these tools will only execute when part C is present. Now you can see if I click on image number 5, the tools are passing properly. And if I click on image number 6, which is the no good part, again, part C is present, so these execute. But if the parts are not present, they do not execute. So we'll see now that we have all the tools properly linked, let me show you the dashboard here. Go to image number 1, you can see we're properly passing now because part B is present and only the part A inspection tools are executing. There you go, took a minute there to update. So part A, everything's passing, so we have a total pass. If I go to part A, no good part, again, part A is passing, but the tools that are inspecting have failed because of the tolerances, so we're properly failing. And then if part B comes, you can see the tools now shift over to the part B inspection tools, which is okay. And then here's no good. So again, we're properly executing the tools according to our conditions. And then of course, part C, present, everything passes. and then part C, no good. And then if nothing's present, we have failure on all parts. Now, none of these are executing, but since we're linking the total status with this cell as well, that is flagging the total status. So now we're properly executing our tools according to which part is present. Okay, so right now the tool execute conditions are adjusting dynamically based on the part that's present. But let's say you want to be able to select which part you're running. Like maybe you're running part A for a while, then maybe you're switching over to part B and you want to be able to either manually change which part you're running or via command by changing a cell. So what we can do is we can create a dashboard function. Here's another example that we can have the user select which part is running or which one should be present, and then pass and fail accordingly. So very similar to what we did. Now, a nice little handy thing that's built in the Vision dashboard is if you go into the template here, you can insert a template. There's a sample template that shows you an example of this. So several ways you can do this, but I'm going to go ahead and insert template and go to the samples. So under the sample folder in VS Creator, you'll find select branch. So you can insert that into your dashboard here. And what it does, it has a little drop-down menu here that selects the branch that you want to run. It just happens to be 3 to match up with what we're doing here, but you can add more. But you can select which one you want to run. So in this case, I can change this text to be part A and part B, part C. So I can make this part A. I can make this be part B. And of course, make this part C. So user can come up and select this. You can also change the value of a cell via command, etc. But drop-down selection, you can see, depending on which one I pick, it sets the appropriate status here. And then we can do the same thing we did earlier. We can simply link the judgments to this cells instead of those cells. So same concept here. So if I do this real quick, go to tool number 4, I'm just going to relink it. Same thing. I'm going to link it to this cell like that. And then now, same concept, same thing. It's linked to that cell. Save some time. I'm going to go ahead and link the rest. I'm not going to show you the rest of this, but just link it the same way. I'm going to relink them all to these cells, and then we'll see how it works. Okay, so I finished relinking everything. So here you can see this blob tool here is linking to F13, which is now this cell. And then I've linked all these group of tools to cell F12, yep. And then again, you saw all these tools here are linked to cell F11. Oops. Back here to general. So just hover over it. It shows you the cell F11. All right, so I've linked them appropriately. So now we're going to manually select the tool. So right now, part 1 is selected, or branch 1, so part A. So right now, if we run through these parts, you can see part A tools are running. So it's not going to dynamically switch because right now it's linked to whatever we select here. All right, so you can see it's only group part A tools are running. So if I go to this drop down and select part or branch 2, which is part B, now part B tools will execute. So you can see if I scroll through these parts or play through these images, once the screen updates here, you'll see it update in a minute here. There we go. So now it's updated. So now you can see part B inspection tools are executing. Again, it's not adjusting dynamically this time. It's adjusting based on this selection. So if I go to part 3, which is part C, branch 3, again, the tools will switch accordingly. So you can see part C group of tools runs. So that's another way you can utilize these execute conditions by linking them or using this kind of selection here where you can manually select it. Again, that can also be changed via command, but this could be like a user interface. You can even put this on the custom screen. Maybe a user selects which one they're running, or the PLC decides, and then you can pass and fail only if that specific part is running through. And finally, one additional method of using the execute condition is called specify condition. So again, I'm going to go to tool number 4, Back to tool number 4 here, and I'm going to specify condition. So how this one works is there's a reference value and a condition value, and if these two values match, it'll execute. If these two don't match, it won't execute. So what we'll do is we'll link this reference value to a cell. In this case, I'm going to just reuse this cell. Actually, we could just link it to any cell. It's a number, but it's similar to the method I just showed you where we're going to set a number. So let's just go to cell C15. Now C15 doesn't have anything in it yet. I'll put a number in that, but we're going to reference C15. That'll be our reference value. And if that equals a 1, we'll have the tool execute. So right now C15 doesn't have anything in it. Let me put a number in there for now. Let me put a 1 in there for now. So you can see that's going to be our reference value. And then if they match, the tool will execute. So I'm going to copy and paste this, partially paste this, just like I did in the other examples here. So we'll partially paste this so they all have the same execute condition. Partial paste. And again, it's under the general settings. Okay. And now we'll do the same thing for part B set of tools. So what we'll do is I'll go to the blob tool, tool number 9, and then we'll do the same kind of thing, except we'll use the same reference, but we'll set it for 2. So if I change this to specify condition. So for reference, we'll use that same cell. So we'll reference that same cell, C15 in this case, except this time it's going to be condition 2. So for this tool to execute, we want that to be a 2. All right. So if this cell equals a 2, then execute. And again, I'll copy this and partially paste it into the others. Okay, so part B has been set up. Now let's repeat this for part C group of tools. So I'm going to select on tool number 14, and we're going to perform the same steps basically, but we'll make this condition be a number 3 instead of a 1 or 2. So once the properties show up here, we will set that up. All right, so let's change this to specify condition. Same as before, our reference value is going to be that same cell C15. So we'll link that, cell C15. And then in this case, the condition will be 3. So we want the condition to match. If it equals 3, then we want the tool to execute. So I'll put a 3 in here. All right, so when that value of the cell is a 3, these tools will execute. And again, I'll copy and partially paste into the others. Okay, so now everything's properly linked, and we'll try this out. Okay, so let's test this out, show you how it works. Just for reference, I'm going to put in some text here so you can see what part type. So right now I'm just going to manually change the cell, but again, this could be done via command or even an numerical input on a custom screen to change this. But right now it's set for 1. So since it's set for a 1, it's only going to execute the tools where the condition matches 1. So as you saw in our setup here, we linked the tools in Group A, or Part A inspection, to 1, the conditions match, so the tool executes. And then the other groups, you can see it doesn't match, so it's not executing. But if I change this to a 2, and then run the different part, you'll see Part B now it matches a 2, so those execute correctly. And then, of course, if I change it to a 3, Part 3 or Part C will properly run because the condition will be a 3, or the reference value is now a 3. And again, if it matches the condition value, the tools will run. So you can see that's another way to conditionally execute these tools, is via specifying the condition number and if they match. So just to kind of quickly summarize the different methods, you can specify by on or off, and that could be manually toggled on and off with a toggle switch. or you can link it directly to a tool result or a cell, where if it's a 1, true, it will execute. If it's not true or false, it'll be 0. It will not execute. You can also follow the judge result of another tool. So you can link it directly to a tool right in this little menu. Select that here. As you saw earlier, you pick a tool that you want to link it to, and then either it passes or fails. And then lastly, the one we just showed you, you can specify a condition. You can specify a reference value and a condition, and if they match, the tool will execute. If they don't match, the tool will not execute. So both of them can be linked as necessary. Typically, you probably link one of these and then leave one constant, but they can both be linked as needed. Just basically, if they equal, they will execute. If they don't equal, they won't execute. So execute conditions can be very handy. Um, in this example, you saw sorting between different parts or running different parts depending on which one's present, or just simply not executing tools when they don't need to be. So if a part's not present, don't execute tools, things like that. So refer to the user manual for more details as needed, or contact Vision Support if you have questions.